If you're a sports fan, hang out. All right, this is WGHS Studios, something we haven't done in a little while, but I love to give insight to the community and what's happening kind of behind the scenes. Honestly, coaches don't get enough credit for what they do, and a lot of people don't have, I guess you could say, the awareness to even, hey, there's a team, but there's also coaching behind the scenes. So I love to get together kind of as peers, kind of as an insight to the community. I have a whole bunch of hidden agendas. It's Coach's Corner here at WJHS 91.5.
We go through, right? We're starting to get a little bit of a change of
coaching staff becoming younger. Okay.
Yeah,
in general.
Our old
guard.
Yeah, thanks. Our old guard's going down. I mean, I think you and I are probably the senior members in terms of age wise.
Coach Shear's right up there with me.
Well, yeah, we didn't want to say about that. I mean, no, but yeah, I mean, Coach Shear and I.
Shear's a young 28.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
Yeah.
So, but I think you're seeing a lot of that. You're starting to see that transition over to a younger group. That would be the biggest thing I would notice right out of the gate.
I think I've been talking about it for a long time, that I think we're seeing the benefits of facilities finally. You taught in the old building for several years. Mr. Ambrose did. I subbed there. I think you're seeing the facilities finally paying off. And for the naysayers that, said we really didn't need all this, or we didn't need the Taj Mahal or whatever, we're reaping the benefits, and our students have a facility they can be proud of, and our athletics, I'm sure the band and the choir and the FFA, they've all got, great facilities now, and it's just all coming along, and it's what most people envisioned, and 600 North Whitley Street had to go, and although it went 62 years and 16,000 of us through that building alone, it needed to go. So I just say the facility just has brought everybody to a new level, education wise and extracurricular wise.
Well, it's just pointing out like the turf on the field as opposed to grass. It's more consistent service. It's faster. The 40-yard dashes up just a little bit, and those little increments do add up. Something that you're not worried about, even, duck ponds that existed at some of the old fields when it would get rainy. Yeah, the whole field would be playable except, the 30-yard spot that you step in and squish. So yes, 61 years of playtime, 62 years of playtime at the old fields. Definitely history there, definitely memories that are strong. We had the athletic director, Mr. Kelly Leach, in earlier just to talk about how things are happening at an admin level, how the sports are changing, younger coaches. Mr. Ambrose, is there something that you're observing that maybe you want to throw in? How are things changing?
Yeah, to answer your question there, when I first started teaching in here at 2017, fall of 2017, and maybe this was just, it was just a funk of just athletics, but it didn't seem like a ton of athletic programs, not all of them, it didn't seem that a ton of them that our athletes had a lot of perseverance when the going gets tough. Maybe the first half of a game or first half of a season would go all right, and then when it got tough, they would just crack under pressure. And you've seen what Coach Bell and what Coach Thompson have just said. The past couple of years, we've seen a lot of success with, I would argue, every single athletic program. I mean, the girls softball went to semi-state 2 years ago. Baseball just had 19. If you count the Whitco rain up, that's 20 wins. Boys and girls golf have had a lot of success. Girls soccer won a sectional title a couple years ago. Boys soccer won a sectional title a couple years ago.
Tennis.
What was that?
Tennis.
Yeah, tennis. It just goes across the board.
Track's kicking butt.
Yeah, it goes across the board. That a lot of our athletic programs are, the athletes are persevering when it gets tough. And, I think there's probably a lot of missing piece that goes in that. Yeah, it could be some of it could be the different coaches, just could be a group of just another group of kids, right? Facilities, all those things. So that's nice to see that, across the board. And like, Coach Thompson mentioned, it's not just athletics, but also the other extracurriculars, esports, FFA, band, choir,
clubs,
all of those. So it's nice to see that there's just a lot of success with extracurriculars from Columbia City High School students.
Well, and I think you're seeing that pay off into the pride of the school too. I mean, I think that was, as both you guys were talking, I think that was the word that kept coming into my head was just, you think of the student section in football games as just, I mean, amazingly packed.
All wearing pajamas or neon or dressed up as cowboys or whatever it may be that night.
Yeah, and just
It is fun to see.
Seeing so much more of the logos and I think there's support through all of the programs. And again, not just athletics. I think our athletic teams, while I think we could always do better, I think they do a good job of supporting, our extracurriculars in terms of our co-curriculars like band and like show choir. But I think that, we're all doing a good job of making those attempts. And I think, that helps. You see that with our leadership, Mr. Leach, and kind of helping guide that as well. But I think we're seeing that growth too. So
influencing the lives of young people. This upcoming year for Columbia City High School, hosting sectionals, multiple sports, both hosting tournaments in the track and field, baseball, softball, bringing things here at home, hosting events. Our facilities paying off, observed by T-Bird over here. What changes? Let's talk baseball. Let's talk golf. What changes are you implementing this year? What is something that you're changing, you're shifting as a coach? You have a couple of years under your belt. You have a couple of years under your belt, soon to be a couple of decades. What are we seeing in the needs of our athletes that you're adapting to, that you're realizing? Maybe it's something that you're not quite can't put a finger on it, but an idea, a mentality, a workmanship, a skill that you're working on.
Wow.
Is there an individual
big question.
It is kind of a big question.
Well, I think, again, when we came in 6 years ago, our whole focus was to get our guys to understand that there's a certain code that you live by, and that code is the servant leadership. I mean, the simplest way to say it is just servant leadership, to get away from the entitlement. I think kind of playing back, not necessarily our kids, but when you ask that first question about things that we had seen or that we're seeing out in the athletic arena, I think you're seeing such a degree of entitlement so much with travel, sports, with club sports, with individual trainers. And I'm not saying that stuff's bad. I'm just saying that when you start getting too many voices in a high school student's head or a middle school student's head, it really becomes a chore for them to be able to sift that out. And I'm gonna speak for myself as a parent. I had two boys that came through. It was hard. I mean, you've got to be able to sift it out, and you always want to do what's best for your child. And so you don't want to take away opportunities, but then it also a lot of times ends up putting you into that role where you're playing, you're trying to get them into these travel sports. You're trying to get them into these trainers. You're trying to do everything you can to help them reach their dreams and their goals. And sometimes that leads to friction and entitlement. What I've been the most proud of, and I've tried to say it, and I never say it enough, but I've tried to say it to our team over and over again, is just how proud I am of where they are at this point in time. They love each other. They play for each other. And I think they truly have gotten a real good grasp on how to become a servant leader and how to take that servant leadership forward. So that's what I think we're seeing and what I'm proud of. And I think we're seeing that through a lot of our programs too. But
right or wrong. Coach, what are you seeing that's different this year for athletic needs, for individual students who are being coached? What are you seeing that are, and this can be something that you're developing as a coach, because you never stop growing as a coach either, which is why I love having you guys in studio just to kind of pick your brains a little bit. What are the athletes needing today that they weren't needing 3-4 years ago that you're working on now? And you don't have to say like necessarily specific circumstances, but if you're thinking of an individual that had a breakthrough, that whether it's sport related, mentally related, whether it's golf, baseball, and Mr. Ambrose, I'll ask you here, kind of you're doing more commentary now than you had in the past. What are you seeing in these individual sports? What are you looking forward to next? But first, what are we seeing from a coach's perspective? Athlete needs, athlete coaching.
Well, from our standpoint, we've been blessed with athletes in golf that have worked hard, and we kind of got away from the recreational golfer a long time ago that for some reason we had a lot of, and we got more into the mentality of, okay, we're here to work, we're here to improve, and no bad ill towards the
Casual.
yeah. The
Are you looking at me right now as a casual golfer?
well, perhaps, but no.
I have 2 pitching wedges in my bag right now. Not a sand and a pitch, but 2 pitching wedges.
You're the man.
I
So
when I missed the first time, I have a sorry.
okay, well, but from our standpoint, I mean, Coach Bechtel and I just, we emphasize the work ethic, and as Mr. Bell alluded to, conduct needs to be, at a premium. We're not out there to, make a scene or anything else. We have our shenanigan here and there, a bump in the road like any team, but
I know some of your students, yeah.
yeah, the work ethic. I think ours our big key as far as the facilities, and we're a totally different animal. We're using somebody's facility. We're kind of at the mercy of somebody, and sometimes that's the one thing I really harp on our guys is remember we are guests here. We are paying. In the past we have not, but we are paying, and whether we are or aren't, we need to respect that facility, respect the personnel, running the facility, and be appreciative of what we have, because there have a lot of courses have closed up due to the economics of golf and the unfeasibility of golf courses anymore. And, there's even some teams in the state that don't have home courses now. So we've got to be thankful for what we have. We emphasize that, and, that's
Shift in perspective.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something the young people don't quite get sometimes.
And to kind of jump on what Andrew said, and sometimes I get hammered because people think I talk and that I dislike travel all the time. And that's not what I'm saying at all. But I do think we're seeing right along with what you're saying, our guys, our athletes, are really working to hone their craft. It may be leading to a little more specialization, but we are getting so many kids who are working at honing their craft, putting that extra time in on their own with trainers. I mean, so to see that degree of dedication to it and commitment, I think you're seeing that pay off too. So, and that's impressive.
That's fun. Mr. Ambrose, casual observer on the outside, have nothing to do.
With the 4 or 5 years of experience with baseball, and with last year coaching in middle school basketball, some things I've noticed, and just through seeing leadership people on social media in the leadership realm, whether it's sports or the workplace, is we more than ever the younger generation needs to fully understand that any type of team sport, any type of team environment, which is almost anything that you could ever do in life, it's all about we, not me. And it's so, I can't imagine how easy it is to get zoned in with all these social media platforms out there as a teenager. And you see from the athletic side, all these individuals and what they accomplish individually, and think, oh, I want to be just like that, or I want to do that. And you focus just on yourself, and you don't really get to see the teammate aspect of it. And like, there's this quote that I just saw, and it says the best teams don't always have the most talented individuals, but they do have the best teammates. And then it says we is greater than me. Great teams have great teammates. And our athletes and our kids need to know how to be great teammates, not just in sports, but in life in general, because it's never just about you, right? I mean, I saw this quote from Gino Auriemma. He asks his players, who do you play for? And they said, I play for University of Connecticut. Goes, no, you don't. You play for her, and you play for her, and you play for her. I could put any team name on this jersey, and you'd still go out there and play basketball. Like, that's who you go and play for. So, you can edit this next part out that I'm going to say. I also wonder if kids these days at their athletic events, if they need less of hearing their parents in the stands. Again, it's a wonder. Mm-hmm. It's a wonder. I don't know, but I just don't know if they need to hear less of their parents, because unfortunately, a lot of parents, they live through their kids or they try to.
So I can add to that, not coaching, not thinking of anything in particular, but I would say for each individual student, for each individual kid, it's amazing the differences of needs that they have. Some, they're little rock stars and they perform with an audience better. Some, they're 100% in their head. Some, this is their game. This is their biggest crutch, and also their biggest advocate is just what they have between their ears. And some need that emotional push. Some don't. Some are distracted by it. Just in the same way that some are little coaches in the making, some are not. Some are players. Some are fans of the game. And I would say that, yeah, I could see why you would say something down those lines, that some athletes need it. And at the same time, are you coaching for, or are you cheering for yourself? That living vicariously through your kiddo? Heck, yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah. Interesting observation. Interesting.
Yeah. Something else to throw in there. I don't know if any of you watch Ted Lasso. I've started recently watching Ted Lasso, and I love it. More so, I love it from the kind of the coaching aspect a little bit. But there's a great scene, and it's just it was a reminder to myself. There's a great scene, leading up to the scene in the first season. There's this really talented soccer player who's pretty selfish, kind of a jerk, but really, really talented, really, really selfish. And you're kind of through the whole first season, you're thinking like, man, like this kid he's like 21, maybe 23, I don't know. Like this guy's just a jerk, like whatever. And then you come to find out after the Ted Lasso finally gets him to understand that, hey, make the extra pass. And he's playing against him in another game down like end of season 1, and Ted Lasso's team loses to this player's team, and he goes to hand him a note card that says way to make the extra pass, but when he knows that this guy is in this room, and is about to open the door, and he sees like a football cleat thrown against the wall, and he sees the guy's dad in there, like yelling. I'm like, I can't believe you made the extra pass. I didn't come here to see my son not score the winning goal. And she's like, dang, like, okay, like there is the part of the reason, or maybe the reason why that guy and why some of our kids maybe act the way that they do. And again, it's a great, Ted Lasso says it earlier, like, man, if people just ask me questions versus just judging me, then maybe they learn something. And it's just another reminder of, I do that. I'm pretty bad at it. Remind myself, maybe I need to ask a question. Like, maybe I need to wonder, why is this athlete behaving this way?
So kind of getting to what I was talking about with athletic director, Mr. Leach, and what Coach Bell brought up earlier, that multiple messages sometimes cause a conflict of interest within each individual athlete. By the way, check out the Coach Ted Lasso show, Apple TV, 11 Emmy Award. I think that's great. Winner, of course, British soccer team, and deals with all the shenanigans, but also is comedy at the same time. So something you might appreciate if you're a coach, or appreciate more of the behind the scenes as a team. I think that's, when it comes to Columbia City Athletics, you coach, you are involved in sports here. What team are you looking at this year? Is that wrestling? Is that the track team? Is that the volleyball? Or is that the basketball team? What is it that you have an appreciation for behind the scenes? Maybe something that you've observed that someone on the outside, what has the hype around it this year for you? Or maybe something you want to point out to others that you're looking forward to. I know we tend to get into our own world, but as a coach, you have a unique perspective who you're looking at.
The year coming up?
Yeah. Or the past year. Totally your call. Something the outsider or the casual game goer might not have seen.
Well, this puts you on the spot.
Oh,
right?
yes. Yes, it totally does.
If you don't talk about all of them, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
No. Whatever one you bring up, I have.
Well, I think so many of our sports have just been on the doorstep of taking that next step and kind of kicking that door in. You look at, look at boys basketball, this year and the last 2 years, and just how much they've improved and how much they've brought back and kind of put themselves right up at the top of the conference. I think people were thinking I think what's been nice kind of for 3, and it is throwing baseball into it a little bit, but, you know, boys basketball, girls basketball, and baseball have all now, I think we've gotten taken out by Homestead in the last, you know, we've lost to Homestead in the last 3 years in the sectional at some level or another. I think girls basketball has kind of been in that same boat, and I think boys was this year. But what I heard a lot over the last 3 years in all of them was, like, people are starting to see, you know, you guys are the favorites going in. Like, Homestead should be scared of you guys. Homestead, well, we haven't taken that next step to jump over the top of them yet, but I think we are getting closer to being on that, you know, knocking down that door. And that's not trying to put any pressure on any of us. But I think that's the exciting piece, is just, you know, Homestead and Carroll were in our conference for so long, and they got so big, and the, I don't know, equality of play, is that the right way to say it? But, you know, I think that's why they were moved on a little bit, and now the being back in the sectionals, at least for the time being, for our sports, you know, we've gotten right back up, and now we're competing with them again, and I think we're starting to turn enough heads that people are starting to see that maybe we got that chance to
Homestead
to
hurdle.
overtake them. Yeah.
This close. It's just the flip of the coin, roll of the dice in some instances, comes down to a single play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, but I think that's the big thing for me.
Other observations? What are you anticipating for the upcoming year? Maybe look back, shout out you want to give out to a fellow coach?
Well,
I have a couple I want to get to if you guys
again,
don't.
this is a little difficult here. You don't want to
play favorites.
We've got 14 programs here, maybe 16 by now, with Unified Track and ladies wrestling and such. But I think Coach Bell's right. That things are, just on the upswing in general. As far as the Homestead hurdle, that's been a hurdle since I was in high school, and it was the old NEIAC. And, you look at the NHC, and I'm going a little nostalgic here, but I think we played 29 football games against Homestead, won only 3 from 89 all the way till when it disbanded in 15. So, there is a hurdle there. Yep. And you remarked about Homestead with baseball, and, they've been, a problem for us in golf. We were fortunate to beat them the last couple seasons, and it's just, they are what they are. They've always been in our backyard, and, they've kind of been, most people in Columbia City would say, a pain in the rump. Yeah. Carroll.
Most people.
Carroll would, was kind of a mix and mash of, some kind of sports they dominated in, and sports we still could be competitive with them. But as far as this year, I mean, so many sports have done so well lately, and again, it's not all about the titles, but generating the fan interest here, and we're a basketball town.
Yeah,
we always have been since beginning of time, but football started, it really generated Coach Fox's product, and those guys have worked their tail off, and what they were able to accomplish. And I think Coach Fox's 9th year, or maybe 10th, I don't recall, but the interest they've generated, it's just been paramount. And basketball is always going to be a draw here. It just was the thing to do since the beginning of time.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that this isn't necessarily to single someone out or to not talk about the other 16 programs, but to give credit from a coach's perspective to another coach, kind of as a tip of the hat. And I do have to give a shout out to Coach Shear. What I appreciate, I don't know Coach Shear personally. She has an invitation to come into the studio for Coach's Corner anytime to talk shop, talk what's happening with the team. I appreciate the athletes that come in and who definitely come in and have a respect, has a presence, are mentally engaged, but at the same time are looking out for each other. They, whether that's varsity or JV players, they see another player and they will be an advocate for them, both in the classroom and socially. And the me before we, or the we before me that Jared, you talked about, Mr. Ambrose talked about over there. I have an appreciation for Shear because of the results that I see. And perhaps it's great that she doesn't take up my invitation to come to the studio for Coach's Corner because she's focused on her own thing. And gentlemen, I appreciate you being in the studio and talking shop. Perhaps there's a reason for it. She's like, don't need to worry about WJHS studios and don't have to toot their own horn. But I have to give a shout out there. And I also have to give a shout out to Mr. Trishman and the track team, the players, the athletes there. They have a mentality that they are definitely in the room with Trishman. And when it comes to, they are fatigued all the time in class from practicing as hard as they do. And I have to give a shout out to both of those teams, both of those coaches, because I know it comes from the top down, but also the bottom up when it comes to athletes and coaches and players and player leaders for those athletics here at Columbia City High School. I think that's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. So credit where credit is due, just in my observation. I don't deal directly with everybody, but I wanted to give a shout out in the platform and the voice that I am given.
Well, and I think that's, and not to Trump here and not to be too political on it, but right. I mean, if you think of the fall sports cross country, tennis won again. Cross country's always, has been successful, has continued just to keep rolling and then been successful. And so I think that's the thing, when you look at those next tier sports, boys soccer jumped on and got the sectional championship last year, I think. Girls soccer has been, they have improved so much and are right there. Golf is always, I look at those as the ones that are just perennial up there. And then I think everybody else is just, they're moving right up. And I think that's what's exciting. I think that's what's exciting for me as a member of the coaching staff and the school is just, there are so many of the programs, those ones that are perennially up at the top, they're pulling us, the rest of us, up to match up with them and to try to drive towards it. And I think that's, you see that with the NE8 awards that we win every year. I think we've been at the top of that now. I know Mr. Leach had pointed that out multiple times, how, we've won it, I think, 4 of the last 5 years and have finished second, and we're kind of right there at the top. So I think that's the impressive piece without trying to. Yeah,
not to single them out, but I'm probably a little bit partial. Don't sleep on boys soccer. There's a couple of senior soccer boys that I've had some good relationships with, built in the classroom setting that I've enjoyed. I remember back when I first started in 2017, when we were running a fall workout for baseball, and the soccer boys at the time, they were running around our field, and they were just cutting corners. And I said something to one of the boys. I'm like, did you just cut a corner down there? And he just kind of looked at me and shrugged his shoulders. And I looked next to Coach Daly and I said, that team's not going to be successful this year. And again, I judged that based off of that. But I immediately had a negative perception of the boys soccer team because of my interaction. And over the past couple of years, I think since Coach Rice has stepped in, and I don't really know him super well, but the soccer boys that I've seen in the classroom, I have been impressed with how well they are respectful, and I think that kind of bleeds over into
life.
Yeah, life and on the soccer pitch. I think they call it the pitch. There's a little Ted Lasso there, knowledge for you. But yeah, don't sleep on the boys soccer team. So I think they're doing some really good stuff. It's nice to see, like Coach Bell and Coach Thompson said, a lot of the programs are rising to the occasion. Yeah. A lot of those programs that have been successful for a very long time, challenging the other programs to, hey, come up and meet this standard. And it's really nice to see that. I think just about every single extracurricular activity that we have across the board, there are athletes, students that are competing at a very high level across the board. And that's just awesome to see for our students.
That's great.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of droughts that have been erased, and thankfully for a few sports. And then we went through a drought from 2016 until we arrived here, where we did not win a sectional. So I think there again just proves the facilities, the enthusiasm, the fan participation that it's all coming around,
starting to click.
Yeah, exactly. And a school our size, shouldn't go 5-6 years without winning any sectionals. And that's what we did. But again, we were the tail end of an old facility and didn't have many facilities. And, we got here, and I bet, and I'm not very good at keeping track of this, but we've won a heck of a lot of sectionals since we've arrived at 1600 South Whitley. Is that, or South State Road 9? Is this 1600?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. But we've started to, turn the corner, and the football one was epic, and, boys and girls basketball are, chomping at the bit, and, volleyball's, going to get there, and it's just exciting time for everything, really. And myself as a Columbia City graduate, just amazed at what we have now. And a lot of us in this community didn't think we'd ever get this. And I predicted to a friend of mine, probably 15 years ago, he asked me about a new school. He said, will we ever get one? I said, well, we were both the same age. And I said, I would venture to guess we will be in our 50s when we get it. And unfortunately, I was right. Obviously, it got shot down in 2008, on a remonstrance. And Coach Bell went through that. And he taught in the old study hall that I was in. And so that tells you all you need to know. And Coach Ambrose back there in the old corner, that was part of the old hallway I hung out in before school years ago. So I'm just proud of the whole thing. And, how, and Mr. Leach said it at the convo, that he was crediting the whole coaching staff and the athletes that night, and we just got a great thing going here, and young people are going to continue to work hard, and our fan support will always be there.
Well, and I think, but you see that growth too, also then leads to more participation, which leads to almost that we have a need for more growth.
Well,
right?
yeah.
And I hate to say that
You're right.
out there, but like I said, you got freshman teams on both boys and girls basketball again. You're starting to,
You've got a freshman team.
We had a freshman team this year, or C team this year. When softball, numbers are going up, and girls soccer, I know, has got a JV team back again, and they're starting to get a lot of numbers. And I think that success and that excitement and that build, and, that's drawing people in, but then it's also, right there. And that's a lot of stress on our field, I know. And I'm not trying to sound like a complainer here, but our field, it was used every single night. And that's our practice field and our game field. And so, it's great to have that, but wanting to be into that success and wanting to be part of those programs just builds that need even more. And that's what's exciting, I think. And I think you're starting to see, as the support continues to grow, I think you're starting to see that willingness and understanding of what this can do too. So
very good.
By the way, did you see that our Coach Shear's crew got to play an exhibition game in Assembly Hall as part of one of their tournaments they were in?
Oh, did they? I did not.
A few days ago.
Yeah.
I have
Awesome. Invitation, something like 4 teams. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the Hall of Fame, but coming in December. But this was some travel. I think
that was her. For her rooting for Purdue, was that a big thing that she?
Yeah, that's right. But I just think that was an amazing opportunity for those coaches and those girls to get to play in Assembly Hall. I don't know what tournament they were at, but a fan stopped me and asked me if I knew about that the other day, and I said no, I had no idea.
I hadn't seen it.
And I heard that they did. I mean, what a thrill for everybody involved with that, to play in such an iconic place like that. So I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Now, something that happens every day. Gentlemen, I think this has been a good chat. I love having you guys in, always to get your perspective, various years in various sports and in and around Columbia City and the athletics here. Thank you again, of course, joining us for Coach's Corner. That Mr. Rob Bell, that Mr. Andrew Thompson, a.k.a. T-Bird, over there, Coach Ambrose, Coach Jared Ambrose, and, of course, one of the teachers here at Columbia City High School. Thank you guys all for being in. This is WJHS Studios. Let's go put this up on online and on air.
All right. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.